we are discussing Next Level,
Oh my goodness.
your guide to kicking ass, feeling great, and crushing goals through menopause and beyond.
Because menopause is going to happen to probably all the women's.
If we're lucky, right?
Right? If we're around, it is going to happen.
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
I mean, she kind of hit me right away with, okay, the average life expectancy now for women, I guess, in this country is 81. The average age of menopause is 51.
Oh.
And that means we all spend nearly 40% of our lives post-menopause, which is a fucking long time.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, if you kind of like disregard your childhood or whatever,
right?
That is probably more like half of our adult
I was going to
lives.
say, like, that we're conscious.
Yeah. I mean, I know you're busy and stuff, but I also get where you would not be super motivated yet to read this.
Well, you know what? I think there's also a fear factor.
Yeah.
I don't want to admit I'm getting old.
Yeah. And I have to say, it is a little depressing, even though it's there's like plenty of things to do that we can, and so we can learn from it. So I would say the best use of this book really is when you are struggling with certain things already, and then reading this, although I think it is good to be prepared too.
Yeah.
So there's that. But yeah, comparing it to Roar, which we both read, I think it's more in depth and it's better done. It was like,
oh, nice.
I think it was, I think it's really well done, with certain little exceptions I can mention later. But the first part of it is Menopause Explained, just why do people get all these symptoms that they're getting? And, it's interesting to learn about the science, what's changing because of the hormones changing and all that. So that is interesting. And then part two, which is most of it, is called Menopause Performance, basically what we can do about all these things, or what we can do to be at our best in all these different ways. And the number one thing that women complain about in these years, and she's talking also about the years leading up to menopause, which is the actual, like, a year after you've had your last period is menopause. And then the time before, where periods may be like getting wonky, irregular, all kinds of stuff, that's the perimenopause. And then postmenopause is after.
And that's 1 year since your last period.
Yeah, the actual menopause is 1 year since. So I can't remember if I think it was a different book that I read, Menopause Manifesto. She was talking about having not had a period for 9 months and thinking she was beyond it. And then all of a sudden, like, whoosh. So it was a very heavy one. So I'm just like, oh, that sounds miserable.
Yeah.
So Stacey Sims in this book stayed away from like all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, she did mention you might have heavier periods and all that, but it really was not a focus at all.
Do you feel like this one, because we felt like some of Roar was really specific to athletes? Did you feel that in this one, or was it also applicable to kind of the regular everyday?
So most of it is for athletes.
Okay.
If you are not an athlete and you read it, you will want to be an athlete.
Right.
And more of like a CrossFit athlete, which is our audience for the most part, right? So the last one was very much geared towards endurance athletes.
Yeah.
This, to a great extent, also, because they're the ones that are going to need to change their routines the most, reduce the long stuff, the long, slow stuff. So the three biggest changes or things that we need as far as movement, first of all, more sprinting and super short. So not just HIIT training, right? High intensity interval training, but sprint interval training. So 10 to 30-second efforts.
So I'm thinking like Tabata type things where you just like,
Tabata would work. Yeah. She gave a bunch of examples.
Cool.
Tabata was one, but like, different kind of schemes for that. So that is really important. That increases. So actually I should back up and say the biggest complaint for women going through menopause is weight gain,
Mhm.
especially around
In
the belly.
yep, the
Yeah,
middle section.
yeah, fat, increased fat, like just a total change in body composition to more fat and less muscle,
Yeah.
which of course sucks.
And I mean, I think I said this at the last one too. My mom would always say, I just
Mhm.
feel so thick.
Yeah,
And that was, all that middle section where
yeah,
she probably could have really used some help with
yeah.
like this
Yeah.
kind of
And
thing.
so, where this feels a little depressing is like everyone kind of struggles with this, but
Yeah.
where it feels empowering is that as athletes, we can do things, well, either even not athletes, but it's way like everybody's going to need to do some of these type of exercises
Mhm.
if they really want to change that,
Mhm.
and so it seems like we cannot change it 100%, but we can make it a lot less bad than the average person that's not
Yeah.
exercising. So the sprinting, it changes all that, increases your lean muscle, decreases the fat, especially the belly fat. It's increasing your human growth
Mm.
hormone,
Mhm.
HGH, which decreases inflammation, which is another thing that tends to happen at this time because, progesterone's anti-inflammatory, that will go down not just at menopause, but even we tend to have a lot of periods beforehand where we're not producing an egg. And so there's
Okay.
no progesterone being made either, or very
Mhm.
little. So, even it could be well before stopping periods, you're having a lot of these issues, like inflammation is one. I kind of skipped ahead, of the other common symptoms: hot flashes, weight gain, 5 to 8 pounds is average. The changing the composition is really important because heart disease is a big thing with increased fat. Big
Mhm.
heavy periods, incontinence, vaginal pain, fatigue, brain fog, anger and bad moods, sleep disruption, and headache. So those are the biggest things that can happen. And that's where, yes, it's depressing,
Yeah.
but she's got some advice for all of
Yeah.
those things. So that's really great.
It's also exciting because we can combat this without having to do like hormone replacement therapy.
Yes, which she does have a couple pages on, so
Mhm.
that's fine.
That's nice.
In the beginning of the part two, she does have that. It doesn't sound like she's that much in favor of that, especially because she didn't actually mention the benefits of decreasing heart disease. That in the menopause manifesto, she really stressed that that's a major benefit of, or a
Okay.
major benefit of hormone therapy like that. But I'm assuming it's because active women,
Right.
we're gonna be a lot protected against the heart disease anyway. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's cool. She seems to favor adaptogens more, and there's a
Mm.
section on the different
Oh, cool.
adaptogens. So she goes over ashwagandha, holy basil, or tulsi, rhodiola, shishandra, and maca. And like section in each saying what it's good for and that kind of stuff. So that's cool. And then getting into the sort of movement musts, the sprint training, like I've been saying. Yeah. And she gives several examples, Tabata 40-20, 30 on, 30 off, hill repeats, or even kettlebells. And sprints, probably better at this age to do bike sprints than running sprints.
Mhm. Yeah.
As I've discovered
Oh, no.
recently. That's okay. Well, okay. And then the second thing that's really important is to lift heavy. So
Mm.
a lot of endurance athletes are not doing that,
Yeah.
even back in the day, or probably persisting till now, they've been thinking like a little weight training is important, but doing more reps and not as heavy.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's just not true, even for endurance athletes,
Wow.
is what she's saying. Even endurance athletes should be doing, like 3 to 6 reps with heavy
Okay.
weights. Yeah. Yeah. So she recommends lifting heavy 2 to 3 times a week. It increases your metabolism, it gives you stronger bones, which is the other like super, thing besides the muscle decrease that goes wrong. Obviously, the bone decrease is a big issue and a big danger.
Mm.
But so it gives you stronger bones, improves your cardiovascular health, which is cool. And
That
that
is
can
nice.
even help with hot flashes as well. The body composition thing, more muscle, less fat.
Mhm.
It increases your immunity too, which is interesting. And then she actually gives some pictures and descriptions of both warm-up exercise and heavy lifting exercises. And there's even a little page of incontinence exercises, because
nice.
that's an issue for a lot of people too.
Yeah. People need to go to we were actually going to talk about that one time. We were going to talk about going to a pelvic floor specialist, because if you are peeing while you're doing double unders,
right,
and you've just gone, something ain't right.
Yeah, true.
I mean, I know that, sure, if you've had kids, you're going to have a different pelvic floor situation, but you can address that. Like, there are things that you can do with a pelvic floor specialist.
Yeah. And you don't even possibly need a specialist, because there was a stat in here of, like, first of all, she said, child's pose. Just breathing in child's pose actually helps the pelvic floor so
fully
much.
Relax.
People, doing that exercise, or maybe there were some others, but they did it for not very long, and there was like a 70% decrease in incontinence.
So what's so weird about that is it's actually like you have to learn how to fully relax the pelvic floor, because if your muscle is like tight already and then you still have to pee, you're gonna there's only so much more you can tighten it. So we've got to learn to like really let that fully relax in order to be able to like fully engage. So child's pose is a great way to like get your body in the position where it's easier to just really truly relax.
Sprinting, heavy lifting, and then plyometrics. Jumping helps your bones so much, and jumping in different directions. In different ways. So it's great for your bones and your muscles, and it improves insulin sensitivity. That tends to become a problem.
Interesting.
Yes. So
jumping, plyometrics for insulin. Interesting.
Yeah. And people might think, oh, running is jumping, but no, it doesn't count, because it's always the stress is going to be the same direction and the same. You have to do more different things. And she's got some pictures there, and it's also very encouraging, because like a lot of those things we've done, like the little, jumping side to side like a speed skater, and of course we do a lot of jump rope and box jumps and things like that. So, and even I hate when we do broad jumps, but we do those sometimes.
When we did our plyo section, we were doing some crazy things where you'd like go up to the line and then you jump with one foot, like on one foot, you jump forward, and then you have to jump sideways with both feet. So
it's super good for you.
Brain activity plus the
so good for your bones and muscles.
That's really interesting, because it's not very fun necessarily, especially if it's like hard, and you look like an ass.
I thought the speed skater one was super fun.
Oh, I like doing that. Yeah.
It's hard, but it was fun.
It is fun.
She's got like a section on gut microbiome, getting plant fiber. Exercise improves your microbiome. This is super interesting. Like there's a certain bacteria, Veillonella, I think it's called. It eats lactate. And it turns out, like, I can't remember the exact numbers or whatever, but the people running the Boston Marathon, they looked at their bacteria, their gut bacteria. They have way more of this thing than your average person. So interesting. Yeah. I mean, maybe they had it anyway, but probably, it eats the lactate, so it grows more, and, ends up being in greater population, and then it helps you more and all. Yeah, it's really interesting. Okay, so those three movement categories are real important. The big other thing that's important with your diet is just eating enough. So many women aren't eating enough, and then you get that starvation response, which makes you accumulate the fat more, eat up your muscle more. And so, I know she talked about this in the first book, but I think she probably went in more depth with the research too, because there also has been more research recently since Roar came out. Intermittent fasting only works for men. Like it doesn't work for women at all.
Especially a menopausal woman.
Yeah, I think even she was saying even post, doesn't matter. Keto only works in women who are sedentary.
Oh, wow.
It doesn't even help active women at all. And even
Interesting.
sedentary women, it doesn't help as much as men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What that
So,
testosterone, man.
yeah. So this is interesting. Then she gives, I mean, a lot of useful stuff. She gives macros for menopause,
That's awesome.
and I haven't studied all that so much. So I don't know how much it differs from just what we should be eating before, but
Mhm.
she's stressing the protein again. I know she talked about this in Roar, but maybe it's even more, and it's even more important to have protein within 30 minutes of your workout,
Mhm.
30 to 40 grams, which is kind of a
Yeah.
lot to eat like right after training or eat and or drink, I think. But that's going to decrease the cortisol and bring you out of the catabolic state. So you're not eating your muscles away, you're going to be
Yeah.
building them back up.
Yeah. That's from reading Roar. I
Mhm.
definitely implemented having
Cool.
like 50 grams of carbs before workout,
Mhm.
and then be sure like within that 30 minutes of getting at least 20 to 30.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I haven't lost well, I've lost 4 pounds total, but like in last week I stayed the same weight, but I lost like inches.
Wow.
So keeping muscle,
That's good.
right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
sometimes after you work out, you are just not hungry,
Yeah.
but
That's
you
what's
gotta
happening.
force yourself to just
Yeah, you gotta.
get
So, I
something.
mean, yeah, she's not super into protein shakes, but that is the easiest thing to have when you're not hungry, right?
Yeah.
So then, she's got some things like just overall with diet, half your plate vegetables and fruit, quarter protein, quarter whole grains and starches. So we were wondering if she's plant-based.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I can't remember if she eats some meat or she is just saying it's totally fine to be eating some meat, especially like she gets asked about because the insulin growth factor increases,
Mhm.
IGF-1 increases when you eat a lot of protein, which can, that's correlated to cancer, but not in active women. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to I just page 168. I just have to read this to you because some of the diet stuff seems like this. It seems like, what? There's no way. So this smoothie sounds like the nastiest
Oh
smoothie.
God, is it beets?
No.
Okay, because I've done a beet one. Oh, sick. I felt like I was drinking dirt.
Listen to this. And this is so weird to me because she's encouraging fruit. She's not having a problem with
Yeah.
fruit. So you can blend frozen cauliflower, fresh spinach, and kale, Greek yogurt, and mixed seeds like hemp and chia for a protein-packed super smoothie.
That sounds nasty.
Exactly. Like, can you put some fruit in
Can I put
it or
some
something?
pineapple juice in there to cover it up?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, and
Frozen
I
cauliflower.
don't have like a problem with, I like vegetables, although I often do mix them with my other things on my plate. Like
Yeah.
especially
Yeah. I've never been one for like a veggie juice.
I like a green juice, but it's gotta have a little green apple or something.
Yeah. It has to have a little fruit.
The smoothie's better because of the fiber, but this sounds like the worst smoothie ever, right?
Like there wasn't even
I'd
a
rather
date or in it or
I'd rather
anything.
eat my vegetables. No,
Oh
I
my
don't know
word.
if that was a mistake or not, if
Yeah.
she just left something out like a date, but or two maybe for that smoothie.
Okay. So it was
Um,
frozen cauliflower, fresh spinach, and kale, and then hemp seeds
Greek yogurt.
and
Yeah,
Greek
and
yogurt
chia seeds.
and some water, or else it's going to be like the pastiest paste
I
ever.
know she doesn't mention that, but yeah, I mean, I would say like the main thing I think was less worked on or less polished about this book was some of the tables and pictures had some issues. And this was a
Mm,
little box, and maybe this had an issue too. Like maybe she didn't really mean to leave out water or juice or
Although we
something.
felt like in Roar,
Yeah.
we felt like the recipes were like the lamest things.
But what was interesting was those recipes were super sweet. They were
Right.
almost all of them like things you didn't usually even have fruit in. There was fruit in,
Like this one was a
So
date brownie, 5 medjool dates, 2/3 cup hazelnuts, the juice or zest of an organic orange, and a 1/2 cup unsweetened cocoa powder.
yeah. And all those salads had fruit. And I think
Yeah,
even like a
interesting.
quinoa salad or something had fruit. And I was like, that's so strange. But yeah, so here's an example of a table. And these are like super useful. Like all these different tables are for the most part helpful, right? But this
Mhm.
one's high protein, low carbohydrate foods. And there are 15 different things listed here. But the very last one is cream cheese. And it says 0.9 grams of protein and 8 carbs per tablespoon. And is that a mistake? Because 0.9 grams is not high protein.
No.
That many grams are so, and especially when she's saying like you need all this protein, right? Like 100 something, well
So
over
with this one,
100.
you get
Yeah.
fractions.
Yeah, very strange. I mean, the rest of the items on here, salmon, chicken, shrimp, turkey, peanuts, peanut butter, sliced cheese, eggs, cottage cheese, scallops, Greek yogurt, almonds, sunflower seeds, walnuts, all had at least 4 grams of protein. But then there's like 0.9. That has to be a mistake. Um, so I thought that was kind of funny. And then some of the other, what were my other weird picture things? I mean, the what to eat that I just described in words, the visual is like, what the heck is that?
Oh gosh.
Like the whole grain foods. That looks more like cheese than slices of bread to me, but it's slices of bread, but
I'm like obsessed now with this cream cheese thing. So 1 tablespoon of cream cheese is 5 grams of fat and zero 0.9 grams of protein
mhm.
and 0.8 grams of carbs.
Yeah, that is not a way to get your
I guess you'd
protein.
have to eat a lot of cream cheese if you're okay with all that fat.
I think it must be a mistake because that's ridiculous.
That is not a high protein food.
Yeah, maybe somebody saw it on a list and was like, oh, 9 grams. I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah, there was also, here's another picture. I was like, what is the difference? Is this a mistake? These two things. There's normalized fat mass and normalized proportion fat mass. And on the y-axis is exactly the same. It's the number of years prior to and after the final menstrual period,
Oh,
just
okay.
showing how deeply we gain the fat. And then
Oh.
it levels off after menopause. We stop that change. Thank goodness we don't keep gaining at the same rate or tend to keep
Wow.
gaining. But yeah, like what really is the difference here, and like why are they both here? It's just confusing more than anything. And she has the same thing for normalized lean mass and um, normalized BMI, normalized weight anyway, but it just seems like strange. And
Mhm.
then also some of the pictures of the movements. What was the issue here? Well, the movements, it's nice to have them here, but I think people should get a trainer to learn these. I
Mm,
mean, there's like things like an overhead squat, like you
mm.
have to be really brave to learn that from a book, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she does have some advice for CrossFitters specifically,
Hmm.
maybe needing to take more rest days or focus on one or the other if there's strength and a Metcon in the
Mm.
same, class, decide which one to really go all out on and then which that you want to just not give so much maybe.
Nice.
That was interesting. Yeah, and this is in the plyometrics section. There's exactly the same teaching how to do the mountain climbers. I guess you're not supposed to notice they're both on the same leg. She has such legs, right? oh, but this one, is this a mistake here? The squat jumps, like
Oh,
this one, I mean, I would think you're supposed to jump to that exact position, right? Is this kind of like a not to do? That looks a bit of a not
I
super
don't,
way to land with your knee that far or your
oh,
legs
I think you
closer
can,
together.
yeah, I think that's okay.
It's okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But still, why is it so different from that one? It's just like weird.
Yeah. That is,
And it even says if you have a history of knee problems, do a shallower lunge where you don't bend your knees a full 90 degrees. So it's just interesting that like one of the pictures, she's bending her knees more than, or
yeah.
at least the front one, more than
Yeah.
90 degrees. Okay. Well, anyway, I
Interesting.
just think like maybe that some of the tables and pictures were a bit of a rush, or there just wasn't as quite the
The
attention
tension. Yeah.
to detail. But yeah, it's really good. And then there are a lot of those next level menopause makeovers. And they're
Mm,
not just, most of them I think are endurance athletes, but this one here is an Olympic lifter. And most of them are having the same issues of like they've gained weight, they've lost muscle, or,
they've been doing
gained
the same
fat.
thing they did and they're
Yeah,
not seeing
their
results.
performance is lagging, compared to how it used to. So yeah, most of the time it was really like laying off the volume, adding in if they weren't doing heavy weights, adding that in. If they weren't doing sprints, adding that in. And then she's got sections on hydration, sleep, and that is a big issue. I know like so many women, um, older women are not sleeping and all that. And
Hmm.
even yeah, before the menopause transition. And I've struggled with some of that, but I've made a lot of these changes are
Mm,
similar too. That's a good helpful section. Stability, mobility, core strength. Oh, this is interesting because with the hormonal changes, our ligaments get a little more lax. That's
okay.
another kind of annoying thing.
Yeah.
So we're especially people like me who tend to be on the flexible side of things, it's gonna
Hmm.
be like, oh, that's a pain because you really have to do more of this core work and like stabilizing
What were some of
yourself.
her suggestions for core work?
She had a whole bunch of pictures with things. But I think these are good pictures. Let's see. Well, first she had some mobility stuff. But then still kick up your core work, right? Windshield wipers. So the
Okay.
back and forth plank, shoulder bridge, like a glute
Mm,
bridge, right? Superman. I really
mm.
think I have to start doing those. And side plank and V up. I think
Oh,
those are all
nice.
really solid. Yeah. Suggestions there. You and then a chapter on motivation and the mental game. Your mind matters. And then skeletal stuff, strategies for the all the different issues. She kind of
Hmm.
which some of it can be repetitive, but it's nice to have in different ways.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Did she
yeah,
talk
and
about
then
osteoporosis?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And eating your
Mhm.
calcium chew,
You can get your enough calcium easily from food. So
especially if you're
yeah,
eating
there
a
is a section
sat or
on,
a, I was going to say, if you're eating a blended drink that's got fresh spinach and
yeah,
cauliflower in it.
yeah, and again, some,
Do you think
yeah.
it was the cauliflower for fiber?
I mean, all of it has fiber,
I know, but
everything
why?
that
I've
went
never
in
thought
there.
about putting cauliflower in my
Well,
smoothie.
also it's a cruciferous vegetable, which has compounds that are good for processing the hormones. So DIM,
Mm,
diindolylmethane, I think it is. That is one that's it helps you decrease the estrogens if you're having more estrogen than progesterone, especially
okay.
before, women tend to become more estrogen dominant
Yeah.
before menopause and perimenopause. So that's one reason for the cruciferous veggies. They are
Uh,
really high in those kind of
well, and now that
compounds,
everybody,
sulforaphane, and
yeah,
yeah,
eats
she doesn't
the
mention that though.
Oh, okay. But now that everybody, wants to eat cauliflower rice or whatever, it's
Yeah.
so convenient that it's all like
Mhm.
chopped up and
Yeah.
frozen. So you can
Yeah. That's cool.
I'll just
Yeah.
start adding it to my smoothies.
Right. You can add the right. That seems like it's already almost processed to the point of a smoothie. But yeah, the supplement section was interesting. I thought, maybe I would add creatine at some
Mm.
point.
Yeah. Tell me about what
From
she had to say about that.
about the creatine. I
Hmm.
will have to find it. Let's see. We can indeed benefit from creatine supplementation. So, a study in 2016 concluded that women respond to creatine supplementation similarly to men and see increases in both strength and high intensity type exercises. This is interesting. May also help with mood disorders. One study found a woman with a major depressive disorder who augmented their, or found that women with a major depressive disorder who augmented their daily antidepressant with 5 grams of creatine responded twice as fast and experienced remission of depression at twice the rate of women who just took the antidepressant.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
For
interesting.
Right. Yeah, I thought so. For menopausal women specifically, creatine supplementation in combination with resistance training may help counteract muscle, bone, and strength loss by reducing inflammation, oxidative stress, and bone resorption, while also increasing bone formation. The
Hmm.
research should suggest that taking high doses of creatine, 0.3 grams per kilogram a day for at least 7 days, may increase muscle mass and function and also improve mood and cognition. And then there was also another research study where you can take a lower dose or you can take a routine daily dose of 3 to 5 grams.
Wow.
Yeah, interesting.
That is really interesting.
Yeah, and you can get more creatine in your diet by eating animal-based foods like beef and salmon, which provide about 500 milligrams per 4-ounce serving.
Okay.
Or taking, 3 to 5 grams is, 5 grams is like 10 times per
I know.
serving. So,
I was going to say, like, I'd have to eat a
yeah,
lot of salmon,
right.
which I can do,
So,
but I don't know if I can afford it.
yeah, right. That'd be a lot of salmon, a lot of dollars, a
A lot of dollars.
lot of dollar. Yeah. So overall, really helpful book, I thought. And it's nice that as different issues or symptoms come up, you can see what she's got to say because there are a lot of little things too. Like, I
Mhm.
know I think she talked about the tart cherry juice also in Roar,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and I like that one. I've started having some of that, to come at some of this inflammation, like assorted kind of joint pain or like, I don't know, ligament pain, tendon pain,
Yeah.
whatever's going on. So anyway, that is my book review
I
for
love it.
Next Level.
I'm excited that there's like a resource out there that's
Yeah.
easily accessible,
Mhm.
easy to digest, but has a lot of good scientific backing. So it's not just
Yeah,
hearsay or I think we
absolutely.
should do this.
Yeah. And doctors don't know much.
Mm-mm.
This was fascinating. I wonder if I can find this real quick. It was in the intro, something about like, oh yeah, this is horrible. It was a survey of doctors in 2019, even in obstetrics gynecology. Some doctors were including obstetrics and gynecology. 20% received 0 lectures on menopause during their medical training, and fewer than 7% reported feeling prepared to help manage the care of women through their menopausal years. That's insane.
Doesn't surprise me though.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
insane, but it doesn't surprise
Yeah.
me at all.
So we have to educate ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you have any questions about
AC
the book or
Sins.
things to share in the comments, please do. Especially, yeah, I guess I'm talking on YouTube. We don't have comments for the other stuff, but if you're listening on the podcast, go to our social media, like Instagram or
Tell us your
Facebook.
questions.
Yeah.
Does she talk about caffeine use at all in
Yeah, she
menopause?
does. Yeah. Mostly positive, actually.
Mhm. Yeah.
performance, wise. Although she does say that women, as opposed to men, do tend to get more jittery
Mm,
from it. So
kind of just
yeah,
monitor that. And
yeah. But yeah, I don't remember what the research was, but having a cup of coffee in the morning was overall favorable.
okay.
Which, a little bit surprises me, but I tend to work with the more neurologically sensitive
Mhm.
people and tend to be a more neurologically sensitive person. So
Yeah.
I think, for some subpopulations, coffee might be a little much. But anyways,
For some of us, we really need it.
yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, it's overall definitely like elevates mood and just, yeah, gets you
And it's
going.
definitely a thing that you
So,
create a habit around,
mhm.
you know?
Yeah, it's the world's most used drug, right?
Yeah.
I
Which
can't
is
remember
just,
what some insane percentage of people around the world use caffeine.
yeah.
Like I can't remember if it was 75 or 90%, something like that.
Oh, I wouldn't be
Um,
surprised.
yeah,
Yeah.
one of I haven't read it, but I think Michael Patton's most recent book was
Mm,
about three different mind altering substances.
okay.
Caffeine was one of them. So it's interesting.
Oh, so
Yeah.
along with the mushrooms.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think psilocybin was the second, and I don't remember what he did for the third. I haven't read it. I just,
Yeah, I
heard a
haven't.
podcast like a year ago on it or something. So,
I haven't read it either.
so that's pretty good memory for considering. um, 2 out of 3.
So go read the book, people, or at least get it on your shelf. So when you start to think, hey, what's this happening? You've got your little resource.